Hello and welcome to FPSKivotos. I'm your host Bridge, and let's get started. On today's episode, we're going to talk about every sensei's favorite pair of feet, student from Genhena. And of course, if I mention feet, that means I'm talking about Iori. As always, we're going to talk about the similarities and differences between my gun and the gun from in-game, as well as the battle animations and any of the other details that I have. Let's just get straight into it like I always do. Right here we have the KAR98, or in my case, just a kind of standard Mauser pattern rifle. The rifle that Iori uses is the KAR98, which is chambered in 8mm Mauser and was used by the German military back during World War II. It's very, very, very iconic in a lot of World War II shooters, and honestly, a couple Modern Warfare games as well. People were using the KAR98 all the time, me included. And it's a very, very iconic rifle. And with it being super iconic, it is also really expensive. So obviously, like I mentioned, mine's not a KAR98. It is just some different or like standard Mauser rifle that was manufactured in somewhere completely different than Germany. I don't even remember where this one's exactly from, because it was just such an easy rifle to produce and just kind of copy. I mean, even the 1903 from the US was kind of basically copied off of this action. Well, not this one in particular, but the KAR98s. And with them being super iconic, they are also really expensive, at least nowadays. If you're gonna look for like a genuine KAR98, it's gonna cost you upwards to maybe $2,000, maybe less than that, depending on that. I saw some at granted, they're at local gun shows. Some of them, I know what I got, sonny. No, sir, you are offering that for way too much. You need you to relax. But I saw one for like $1,400 and stuff like that. I got this for $300. I got this, it's, in my opinion, as you've known in this channel, I try my best to do one-to-one, but if I financially can't afford it, I'm not gonna do that. So I decided to go with something cheaper. I do wish I did at least get something that had a similar bolt to it. As I was mentioning, obviously we have the color. It is just a dark red color. Iori doesn't really do anything particularly special with the rifle other than that. She doesn't even have logos on it like a henna sticker or anything like that on her gun. She just goes basically bare. The only thing that she does really differently is the butt pad, which we can just talk about that right now. This is a little cheek riser, and on hers, she has spikes here that kind of curve up. As you can see, it is pretty like flush, and I have to use the sight at a different angle. So a lot of these come with adjustable sights with different elevations, going all the way up, kind of like that. If you want to shoot someone from very, very, very far away, or at normal ranges like this, you can have it all the way down, which is kind of how I always use it. You can't really, when you go to shoulder it, you can't with this cheek rest or cheek riser. You can't really see that, so you have to put it all the way up to 7, which is it works, but it's definitely, if you're shooting at somebody not that far away from you, you're probably gonna miss. I'm not entirely sure. But with that being the way it is, I decided to kind of not use the spikes, but you can visualize it. It would be kind of difficult for her to use at the end of the day, but maybe she's just going for, the aesthetics of it. Which, hey, honestly, I don't entirely blame her, considering how much she's used in PvP. I say that, but she misses a lot. But anyway, this episode's actually going to talk a lot more about the differences for the most part, because, like I mentioned, they're not the exact same rifles, so there are some liberties with this one when it comes to things that it doesn't have compared to the KAR98. And the biggest thing being the bolt. So the bolt on this rifle is a 90-degree bolt. So when you rack it, it goes all the way up to the top and comes back, bring it forward and back down to the side. Hers has the curve on it, kind of like how the Mosin is, with, the action being like this and the sniper variant of it being the one that's curved. Same thing goes for this. If I were to put an optic on it, I would need to jerry-rig away or have it offset so I could actually have, be able to actually shoot the rifle in the first place. When it comes to the overall feel, this action is actually really, really smooth. As you probably see in the firing footage right now, I'm actually shooting this thing really fast, especially being left-handed and shooting it with my left hand. As we saw from Hio's video back here, I was shooting it right-handed and was racking the bolt pretty quickly comparing these two, honestly, I think I could shoot this one faster as a left-handed person, just because of how like really smooth this bolt is. And I'm really impressed with it. This was actually really fun to shoot. It's probably one of my favorite bolt actions I've shot. The Mosins are pretty fun for the most part, but this one, with it being 7mm Mauser, it doesn't really have that much recoil at all for the most part. And it's just it's really smooth shooting. Overall, I'm actually really impressed with the paint job. I didn't go super hard on the red because when you look at hers, it's just redwood. Like, it doesn't really have that much detail, and I didn't want to go super deep with the coating to like cover the whole thing. Like, obviously it's completely red, but there's certain portions of it that kind of bleed into the original color that it has, and I think it turned out honestly really nice. I don't think I particularly ruined this rifle, but you know, that's up to you. If you know, painting it a completely different color is quote unquote ruining it, or you know, at least I didn't put a sporterized stock on it. So another thing that it's missing the I believe it's the cleaning tool or something like that. There's basically like a little hole here where it allows you to disassemble the bolt. There is a way to completely disassemble the bolt within the rifle itself. It's pretty cool with the KAR98, but obviously here you can't really do that. I can probably take it apart, but YouTube won't like that anyway, so I'm not going to show that. But I'm also really impressed with how easy this thing is to shoot, how easy it is to load, compared to each and every single one of my other bolt action rifles. Even my more modern one, this one shoots the smoothest, it shoots the softest, it just is really fun to shoot. And honestly, I would go hunting with this. You know, obviously I would only be using iron sights, so I wouldn't be able to shoot, you know, anything that is really far away, but I can get something that's fairly close, and I think I could probably do fairly well with this. But honestly, with all that out of the way, really quickly, we're gonna go straight into the battle animations. If you guys have been enjoying this episode so far, please make sure to lick Iori's feet.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Hit the like, comment, and subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to know when I upload every single time. As always, we're gonna start with the reload animations. She has two. One for standing and one for crouching down. For both of them, she just puts in 2 rounds into the internal magazine and closes it right back up. She's just like all the other bolt action, well, I don't know if it's all of them, but some of the other ones that I've reviewed in the past, where they just put a couple rounds in, which is 2, which is very interesting that it's just 2 rather than them putting in a stripper clip. Instead, I feel like that's about the same amount of time. It just makes more sense, but it is what it is. So they put 2 rounds in, close back up, and they're back in the action again. The Mauser, the KAR98, holds 5 rounds in its magazine. You could hold 6 in if you put a round into the chamber and push down onto the internal mag while you're closing it up, so you would have 1 in the chamber and 5 in the internal tube. When it comes to her passive skill, she does a crouch shot that does massive amount of damage, and then when it comes to your EX skill, it wasn't really something I could recreate. As you can see, she shoots 3 times, and after each shot, she does a twirl and moves a certain amount of distance back or forward to shoot 3 times, and that is something that I personally could not do. Now, technically I could. Yes, technically I could if I wanted to flag everybody at the range and probably get kicked out. So I didn't do that. I probably could do it if we were alone out at a different place that wasn't a public range, but I definitely could not have done it there. It's a very strong EX skill, and it's used by a lot of people, whether it be for raids or PvP or total assaults or stuff like that. It's something that's used a lot. Now there is one thing that we are missing, and that is the swimsuit card. I unfortunately do not own that one, and I couldn't find anybody at the time who owns it, but I do know of the animations. Her reloads are exactly the same, whether it's crouch or standing, but her passive skill is interesting. She uses the gun as a baseball bat. She throws a can up in the air and smacks that hoe and gives a nice little home run and hits a target downrange and does massive amount of damage. I'm not quite sure if that's entirely great for the wood of the gun. I mean, it's made out of wood, so it's kind of like a baseball bat. It's just like one that can also shoot bullets. So it works. It works. And then when here comes her EX skill, she actually uses a rifle grenade launcher. Well, technically it's a rifle grenade bottle thing. So she sticks a bottle into the front of the gun and basically shoots out a grenade launcher. It's basically like The way it works is you load a round in that isn't a actual bullet per se, but it's got powder in it to allow for a projectile to be shot out from the front that's stuck up on there like a grenade launcher, essentially. Basically an old school grenade launcher before we had like underbarrel and grenade launchers and stuff. And I think it's really neat that they incorporated that into this skill. And one last thing to mention before we move on, I think it's really interesting that she doesn't really take the recoil all that well, but she also shoulders it and like puts her cheek all the way down to be able to look down the sights, and that I feel like that would hurt, considering we don't really know what those spikes are made out of. If they're made out of metal, or they're made out of foam, or whatever. It doesn't really look the most comfortable in the world. I think that part of the reason why she's not taking the recoil all too terribly well is that 8mm Mauser doesn't recoil that much more than 7mm Mauser. But I think the way she's holding it, she's kind of holding it more towards the back of the gun rather than going more forwards, kind of like how I do it. I really extend my other arm out to be able to hold it at kind of a more modern, I guess it's like a more modern way of holding guns. Well, long rifles, I should say. So I can mitigate that recoil a little bit more rather than having the gun just kind of flip up back in the front of my face, But with all that out of the way, let's move on to the conclusion. And with that, we are at the end of the episode. This one is, I assume it's pretty short. I'm not entirely sure. There's not really much to talk about. I probably yapped a lot about the gun, even though there's not really much to talk about. She has kind of one of the more bare bones guns in Blue Archive, which I think is really interesting, being one of the initial characters. The biggest thing is the fact that it's a red rifle with weird spikes on the stock, and that's just kind of it. Doesn't even have a Gehenna sticker really anywhere from what I've seen, and it's like, I don't know. I think it's neat to just have somebody on the team, and it's just someone who's really good with it. Just to give a little updates on everything. This will be my last video for a little while, be it a couple months. I'm not entirely sure how long I'll be gone. At least I'll be gone from uploading. I'll be around on Twitter and everything. As you've probably seen, I have, posted clips about VTubers and stuff like that. I'm not shifted focus per se, but I want to have the VTuber stuff as an extension of what I do, because this channel is Blue Archive and VTubers. It's just kind of evolved into both. If you want to see VTuber clips, I do have a new channel, which I'll link in the description below. If you want to check that out, I'll just post clips of my, some of the VTubers that I watch every once in a while. It helps with editing, to kind of up my skills as well, to kind of make these videos a little bit better, even though, some of the things don't really correlate with what I do in them, or basically correlate at all, other than if I do a VTuber customs video, which there is another one in the works. I'm not entirely sure when that one's going to come out either, but do be expecting that in, I don't know, a couple months, I would assume. I still, like I mentioned, I still will be on Twitter and stuff like that. I'll post updates on what I am working on. I've almost got all the money that I need for one of the things that I'm doing in the future, and so I will be able to start buying another gun here soon to be able to continue the project. I'm not entirely sure who I'm going to do next. There's been a lot of stuff that was revealed at SHOT Show and just kind of in general that I've been looking at for hopefully seeing there's a good price on them to be able to make videos on them, but I'm not entirely sure yet. But I want to be able to pay off the things that I did pay off first, and then I continue the channel. The channel's been going great. I'm really enjoying it, and thank you for over 1,000 subscribers now, 1,100-ish. That is awesome. I didn't think I'd get this far, to be honest, and I'm really grateful for each and every single one of you. Like I mentioned, I'm not entirely sure when I'm going to upload it next, but keep an eye out. I won't be gone for too long. I do mention that I do post every 2 to 3 months or so. So keep that in mind. But as always, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Keep an eye out on Twitter. I'm always active on Twitter, whether it's talking about VTubers, or it's talking about Blue Archive, or guns, or anything like that. I'll be there. And then whether I see you there, or I'll see you in another video, I've been your host, Bridge, and I'll see you guys in the next one.